My name is Arun Jagtiani, and I'm a proud St. Martin. In a few short weeks, our country is going to be heading to the polls to elect 15 new members to Parliament. There's 126 candidates from 9 different political parties that are contesting this election, and I think the entire voting population can benefit from knowing a little bit more about who these candidates are. Over the next few days, I'm going to interview a few new faces and a few political veterans. So join me, St. Martin, and let's talk politics. Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Arun. I'm joined today by the number 12 candidate on the Democratic Party's list. He's none other than Mr. Marvio Cooks. He's one of the youngest candidates contesting this election. Thank you, Marvio. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you for having me today.
A pleasure. So, Mr. Cooks, to get straight to the point, there's a lot of candidates contesting this election.
Yes,
you are one of the faces I'm not familiar with, and I'm sure there's a lot of voters that perhaps similarly, yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're contesting this election.
Well, Arun, I was raised here in St. Martin. I went through school here in St. Martin. I went to St. Dominic Primary and St. Dominic Secondary School. I'm contesting this election because while I was away studying in Florida A&M University, there was a time when I realized that regardless of whether I was involved or not involved in politics, that politics affected me. There was a time when, the politics in St. Martin were starting to talk about reducing the amount of funds that students that were abroad were going to receive. And when I realized that, hey, if I am not in tune with what's going on in my country politically, then I would end up having an issue with my life and the way that I'm going to go. So I decided to contest it because there are certain issues that St. Martin shouldn't be going through anymore.
Fair. Okay. So why the Democratic Party? There's 9 parties that you could have chosen from. What led you to DP?
Well, I went to DP because I checked them out. I've been following them for a number of years.
Okay.
I am very familiar with their leaders' accomplishments. I'm very familiar with her work ethic. And when I saw what they were about and how inclusive they were when it came to opening their doors, not just to anybody, but in the sense of it didn't matter where you came from as long as you loved St. Martin and you had a good plan for the people of St. Martin, that they would let you in and listen to what you were about. That's what led me to the Democratic Party.
Okay. As we mentioned, you're one of the youngest candidates contesting this election. What makes you feel like you're qualified to serve in Parliament?
Well, one thing that makes me think, and actually what makes me believe more that I am qualified to serve in Parliament, is the fact that I have been paying attention to politics ever since 2010.
Okay.
Especially during then, I was part of the College Association, which was in the United States. It was basically like a pretend parliament in the United States. And I was a treasurer there.
Okay.
And we were able to read the Constitution as it was being drafted, get involved with what was going on. So that experience there, and the fact that I know how to research, that's what I did in school. That's what I do now as a young professional. I'm an ICT coordinator, and my job is to research applications and hardware that can help education. And that's no easy feat. We have to, go through the political process to be able to get there. Writing an advice, making open bids and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that is what makes me believe that I am very legitimized when it comes to being in Parliament. Okay.
You mentioned earlier that since coming back to St. Martin, you've seen this country struggle with certain challenges that perhaps we shouldn't be struggling with. Elaborate on that. What specifically are you thinking of?
All right, so for me especially, since my platform primarily is between education and technology.
Okay.
And there are certain issues, especially when it comes to technology, that I find that St. Martin shouldn't be going through, because the technology that we are lacking is already there. We're not looking to go and acquire technology that doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
There are things around the world, even neighboring islands, that have, like Aruba. They have really good internet.
Yes.
And when you go and you check what type of submarine line we have coming to our country, it's a T1, T2 submarine line.
Okay.
That means that it can be expanded to up about 5 gigabits per second. And we're not...
So for a lot of people, this may go over their head.
Okay.
And it went over my head to some extent, yeah?
So,
is that good or bad?
Well, it's good. It's really good, actually. What it means is that we have the ability and the capacity to be able to push better internet.
Gotcha.
Here.
Comparable
Now,
to what Aruba or the United States, or
we can actually be in the same tier as Aruba if we work harder on our infrastructure. The one thing that we have is that we love to introduce new technologies, but we don't seem to understand that we need to build the foundation to be able to support those new technologies.
Okay.
So, we have streaming services, for example.
Yes.
We have individuals on St. Martin, like yourself,
sure,
who, you do these videos, and then when it comes to it, you have to put them up. And when you're going to try and put them up, a 2-minute video might take you 300 minutes to upload.
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges that we've had with this project, because our platform is internet-based, is getting the videos uploaded onto the internet. In many cases, we underestimated the delivery time. So it's taken us days in some cases to get some of the larger interviews up.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason we're going to have to keep this interview short. Sure. But thank you for pointing that out.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the issues that I find St. Martin shouldn't be going through anymore, because we already have the means to do better. All we need to do is focus on being able to fix our own infrastructure so that we can have fiber optics in more areas.
So what you've pointed out is the actual line that connects St. Martin, let's say, to the rest of the world and the internet is where it needs to be.
Yes.
The problem is from there we're not distributing it properly.
So where it's anchored here, where it's anchored is all right. But then when we're going to the local infrastructure, what wiring we have going through our communities, it's not sufficient.
And how easy is that to?
It's not easy. It's not going to be an easy task. I'm not going to say like as if it's going to be today and tomorrow. But what I am saying is that, okay, I do know that our telecommunications companies are working on it, and I've heard that.
I've heard that. I think too many times to be honest.
But they've been working on it, but then why are we still paying as much for internet when we're barely getting what we need?
Right. It seems criminal almost what we're paying for what we're getting.
So for example, our schools, I work with the public schools.
Okay.
Right? And
elaborate on your current position, please.
So my current position, I work as an ICT coordinator with Division Public Education. So information, communications, technologies, and telecommunications. So my job is to teach teachers. I teach teachers how to teach via technology. So what they have to do is they have to learn how to facilitate learning. With technology. Instead of being the center, they now have to learn how to use the resources that are available to catch the attention of the students.
And how far, so you mentioned St. Martin in general is we have a lot of work to do in terms of upgrading our grid, let's say, for the internet.
Yes.
What about the schools? Are they keeping up to pace, or are they falling way behind in terms of preparing the next generation for the internet world?
They are working on it. I can't say they're falling way behind. There are several individuals like myself and other individuals within the ministry who are working tirelessly to make sure that our schools are up to par. We are having difficulties when it comes to our infrastructure in the schools. Like, for example, there are old lines that need to be replaced.
Yes.
There are certain, the buildings themselves need to be renovated in certain areas.
Okay.
So when it comes to that, we are trying to keep up. But the issue is that we're not having enough support when it comes to that. The teachers themselves, I, with my other counterpart, we're two people trying to take care of over 1,000 something.
Sure.
So when it comes to that, it's very difficult, and we need to have more support when it comes from government. Yes, education is one of the, when it comes to our budget is one of the biggest.
Yes.
But we need to be able to focus our attention to the right areas. We can't talk about introducing new projects to enhance technology in the classrooms when the classrooms themselves can't support the technology that we're.
So we've got to improve and redo the groundwork so that we can build on a new foundation.
And even before we even think about introducing new technology, we need to think about training our teachers, training the people who are supposed to be teaching using these methods. And that is something that I'm doing right now. I'm running classes for a Microsoft Office specialist. I'm starting with the administrators, going through to the teachers, and then eventually to be able to reach to the students so that they themselves can be able to get an opportunity to get certified. And not just certified, recognized on St. Martin, but recognized internationally. We're an internationally recognized certification port now.
Now, you mentioned to me off camera when we were getting ready that you played some college basketball when you were in Tallahassee. What was that experience like? And also, did it help to highlight, or what does that experience tell you about the sports programs here right now that we have for youths?
Well, that experience was it was a shock. The first question that my coach, when I got there at the time, asked me was, what system did I play in?
Right.
And I looked at him and I was like,
put a ball in the basket?
That's basically it.
Yeah.
I told him, you give me the ball and I put it in the basket. And he's like, no. And, he asked what playbook we used. What was it that, what type of, team did we emulate? And I said, we kind of we had talent, we put it together, we get on the court, we execute.
And we run.
That was it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the main things that I realized that was a difference between, a developed country and St. Martin. And now I understand that St. Martin is developing, but we have a lot of talent here. We have these sports auditoriums. We have these tournaments that we host, but we don't have, again, a foundation, a structure where we have certified trainers, where we have certified referees, where we have, so for example, basketball, because that's what I played. You should be able to have a eat, sleep, and dream basketball type of situation where you're not only just playing basketball, but you're actually getting academics at the same time. If we have so much talent on St. Martin, we need to be able to reinforce it. And how do we do that? We need to create a real system. We need to pay attention to what is already around us. When I played internationally against Anguilla, Antigua, Dominica. And even on those teams, when they got there, you can notice the difference. They were hardened teams. They had a system. They had
a strategy, a game plan.
Something that they lived by. This is something that they can do in their sleep. We, on the other hand, we had a lot of talent. But not very much direction. Not taken away from the coaches that gave their time to help, because they themselves will come up with their own system. But it's not something that's across the board, and that's what we need. If we are going to say that we're going to talk about having a national team in any sport, we need to have some kind of national support system that assists our athletes to do better and to become the athletes that they want to be. And then we can create that pipeline from novice to semi-pro to maybe even professional.
Sure. Well, as we mentioned, we've got to really keep the interview short, otherwise we'll never get it uploaded. But in closing, just something that's crossing my mind that I'd love to ask you. I saw from your actual Facebook profile that you're a gamer.
Yes.
Help the audience and myself also to understand why this is a useful skill set, because I think a lot of people who are not millennials perhaps see gamers as, well, you're playing video games, how can this be a business? Some people don't believe it's a business. I've opened my eyes to that. I think the Video X Games that was hosted here kind of opened up my mind to say, hey, this is a real industry. Then I started to pay attention that this is getting exposure on ESPN, and it's a real sport, actually, even it's not as physical as playing basketball. But so tell me how being a gamer will help you or brings a useful skill set to the table. And real quick as well, I'm curious to know, because if you're a gamer, obviously you're familiar with Rolando Bryson, and he's made some headlines with the STA. I'm sorry, that's a very loaded question, but in conclusion, if you can touch on some of those subjects.
So, first of all, when it comes to gaming, I'm glad that you brought that up. There are a lot of people, especially on the island, that think that gaming is basically a waste of time. I currently work as a game tester for Vault Media Corp company. They are a studio with Ubisoft. So I was able to report on errors, for example, on games such as Assassin's Creed. I played every Assassin's Creed a year before they ever came out. And I was able to report and help build the game.
Interesting.
So in game testing, you're not just sitting there playing the game. It's a job. They tell you, hey, this is the area you need to do. This is what you need to focus on. Please tell us what errors or what type of solutions you think can come. I learned reporting. I learned to be able to do some critical thinking when it came to assessing errors and making sure that these things can work.
Interesting. Attention to detail, I can imagine.
A lot of attention to detail. And you learn a lot of patience because you got to do the same play over and over again. But that's where gaming helps a lot. Gaming helps a lot when it comes to critical thinking. There are a lot of studies out there that show that people who play video games, individuals who play video games, tend to make decisions better and faster in the real world. Because this is what they do on a daily basis.
That's the skill set that you're honing.
Yes. And it becomes a sport because like a sport, esports means that you have to train. If you today don't ride a bike for a while and then you pick up the bicycle and you try to ride it, it's going to be a little tough. Same thing with any sport. If you stop training, it takes a while to come back. The same thing with video games. Video games, unless you are trained, and there are methods and strategies to become better at video games. And if people take a look to how these games are actually made, because if you open up a video game and you look under the hood, you'll realize that there's not child's play there. There's
a lot of science behind it.
A lot of science, a lot of physics, a whole lot of mathematics that goes behind it to make sure that this game is as real and or as playable as possible. And now to talk about video X games. I really did love to see that, you know, VXG was able to kick off the way it did on St. Martin.
And in the gaming world, that
Yes.
received real exposure, or was it like something that went unnoticed?
No, it received real exposure.
Okay,
In
so
the
it's
United
definitely beneficial for promoting St. Martin.
Definitely beneficial. In the United States, I had Tallahassee Gamers League and FAMU VGC. That was the two organizations that I started up there. And it got so much exposure that people were actually asking to see if they could win prizes to come and play here during VXG.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's Florida, Georgia. We were getting, St. Martin was getting.
So it became a nice buzzword almost to come down.
VXG was very, very, very popular in the States.
So touch real quick then on let's say controversy, if you will, the founder of that, or one of the founders, I guess.
I find that it is very unfortunate that something like that happened at a moment in his life where he was really showing more advancement. You know, he already did all of these steps. He started VXG. I know that he was a very aspiring entrepreneur.
Yes.
I know him personally. He's a very good man. I did find that it was, like I said, unfortunate that at that moment of a spotlight, that type of spotlight is what fell on top of him. And, you know, I would like to tell him if I see him again, you know, you need to be able to just move past it. Because this is what happens. Everybody in their life has a moment where we would prefer to put it away and never let anybody know about it.
Right.
But a lot of the times, especially when you're in the public eye, those things are what seep out.
Yeah.
People go looking. They don't go looking for what you did well. Like they say, when you're going to see a Daredevil, when you go to see a Daredevil type of event where, you know, they're doing a stunt, most people show up there to see you burn. They don't come there to see you,
see you land.
You know, they want to see something exciting happen. And this is what happens with our community right now. Now, I do understand that there are precautions that people want to take because, you know, your history does have a lot to do with, you know, where your future is going to go.
Of course.
And I like to say, you know, sometimes, and this is sometimes what I tell people, if you had a history of being an alcoholic, for example, people would tend not to want to make you be a bartender, if you get what I mean. Get what I mean?
Understood.
So that is the type of situation that St. Martin, that was the reaction that St. Martin had to that. And they were, you know, I was glad to see that there were, because we're in a democracy, there were a lot that were in
counterbalance,
support. Yes, there was some saying, you know, he needs a second chance. Some were saying he got a second chance already. You know, we need to open it up to other people. And what I'm saying is that he just needs to, you know, put his feet on the ground and show it with his actions.
Fair.
His actions will speak for themselves. If he can show with his actions that, hey, yes, I had a difficult time, this happened, but look, this is what I'm doing now.
Right.
And that's something that, you know, all of us deserve, and we should all, you know, be cheering for someone who is trying to do something like that.
Thank you. Again, he's number 12 on the DP list, one of the youngest candidates, certainly a well-articulate young man. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Cooks. We wish you all the best come September 26th. And in closing, we'd love to give you a moment to speak directly to the voters and give them your message.
Hi, again, my name is Marvio Cooks, and I am a person who loves this country. And I like to say that if you love your land, you have to start by loving the people. And that is something that I am here to do. I am here to show love to the people by making sure that we can get good entry-level jobs for our returning students, that we can get good infrastructure when it comes to our internet so that we don't have to wait hours and hours to upload anything or download anything. My name is Marvio Cooks. I'm candidate number 12 on the Democratic Party list. And I am here to let you know that we need to forget the delinquencies. We need to forget the people who were there and said they were there for something and they didn't show up, or with their actions they didn't do anything to go towards the development of St. Martin. Forget the crooks, vote for Cooks. Candidate number 12 on September 26th. You send that message and you let them know that we are actually moving forward. Thank you.